Joining me is former war correspondent Michael Ware. He has been keeping across the primaries, the impeachment, greedy for fun there in the United States. Michael Ware, good to see you. First of all, New Hampshire. What is going on in the Democrats? Bernie Sanders won New Hampshire last time. He won it again, albeit narrowly this time, but the establishment must be shaking in their boots.
Well, let's wait and see. I mean, at the end of the day, if we end up with Bernie Sanders as the Democratic nominee, then I don't think there's a collective brain or a collective Machiavellian bone in the Democratic Party's body, because he's not a candidate who I believe can win. So, did Bernie Sanders get his nose just in front in the polls in New Hampshire last night? Yes, by 2%. I don't think that's the real takeaway. The real takeaway here is that if you add up the moderate votes for Mayor Pete Buttigieg, for Amy Klobuchar and for former Vice President Joe Biden, you're looking at over 50% of the vote, 52% odd of the vote. But if you add up the progressive vote, or what Donald Trump would call the socialist vote, for Bernie Sanders and for Elizabeth Warren, you end up with just 32%. Look, what I think America is really waiting for right now is for a real moderate with real electability to emerge from this Democratic pack. So I think even though Sanders got his nose in front, he won the popular vote in Iowa, but not the delegates. He got his nose in front here just by a whisker. That doesn't mean Bernie Sanders is surging towards a run at the White House. I think we're still waiting to see whether it's going to be Mayor Pete or the tsunami that will be former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg's entry into the race for Super Tuesday. Already, two national polls, one highly respected, has Bloomberg at 15 to 17% popularity, up from single figures just weeks ago. So I think this race has finally got interesting, and I don't think the lead is that Sanders is going to win.
No, nor do I. I think perhaps his opportunity has passed, and that was around 4 years ago. But Donald Trump seems emboldened. He's been acquitted of 2 articles of impeachment. He's purged some of the swamp, as he likes to call it, in Washington since then. And he has just used this really as a springboard to, I guess, not launch his campaign, but he's revelling.
Well, obviously, you know, as we said last week, that with the end of the impeachment trial, the lay of the land for this year's election was established, and he's going to go in saying, it was a non-impeachment, I was cleared, the economy is surging, and, we saw a couple of weeks ago a significant poll showed that 63% of Americans approve of the way he's handling the economy, even though most do not approve of the way he's handling the country. So, that said, President Trump has now gone about with a Trumpian purge. The most significant people who testified against him during the impeachment, a national security official, a lieutenant colonel with a Purple Heart from Afghanistan, was escorted from the White House. The US ambassador for the European Union, a Trump political appointee, was sacked on the same day. And now we see President Trump going after a federal judge and his own federal prosecutors in a case for one of his henchmen, the infamous Roger Stone, who was convicted of lying to Congress to protect Donald Trump about his connections to WikiLeaks chasing those Democratic email servers, and convicted of tampering with a witness. And President Trump overnight went berserk with a series of tweets, and so now the federal prosecution has had to reduce itself from recommending 7 to 9 years imprisonment to the judge to now a waffly open-ended recommendation, causing the 4 federal prosecutors to retire from the case and 1 to quit the Department of Justice. And President Trump is even now dangling out the prospects of a pardon. So this is a purge, and this is the president taking care of his personal mates.
Yes, expect perhaps a little bit more of that. It's certainly going to be an interesting campaign. We're not even close to November yet.
Oh,
Michael
we
Ware.
haven't even begun. But this is of seismic proportions.
Yeah, of course.
So this is going to be a fascinating year for coverage of the American
A
election.
good time to be right where you are, my friend, and we'll be speaking to you very soon. Thanks so much.